Back at 6:17, as many as half of all women have dense breast tissue, and that makes it harder sometimes for mammograms to spot cancer. But doctors don't always tell women that critical information. That's a problem that Target exposed 3 years ago now. On June 1st, a new law will change that, requiring that you be told your results in a letter if your mammogram shows you have dense breasts. Well, all this week, we're breaking down how this new law will impact women. So this morning, we're talking live with Dr. Susan Irvine and Dr. Jane Pettinga, both from Holland Hospital. Thank you so much for joining us.
You're welcome.
Well, this kind of seems at first glance like a no-brainer. Shouldn't we have more information about our own health? Shouldn't we have that in our hands? This is something that will be required by law starting June 1st.
Absolutely. We really want women to have as much information about their health as they can. It's important for women to know if they have dense breasts because, as you mentioned, it can make cancers harder to detect on a mammogram. However, we really want to make sure that women know that regardless of breast density, annual mammograms are recommended for everyone. Mammograms are the only imaging test that has been shown in multiple trials to decrease the risk of dying of breast cancer, and that goes for everyone, not only women with less dense breast tissue. So we want to make sure that this information doesn't scare women away from having their annual mammogram.
Okay.
It's important to continue doing that and then also look at having supplemental screening if that turns out to be what's right for you.
Okay, so Dr. Pettinga, a lot of people are going to have this new information, and you have to imagine that it's going to scare some women to understand and to learn that they have dense breasts because that's going to be new information to them. What kinds of questions do you think are going to be coming into doctors' offices, and what kinds of questions are radiologists and general practitioners going to be asked of women? What do you want them to ask?
What I want them to ask is, what are my other risk factors? Because breast density is only one risk, and it's not a particularly high one for most women. It's only in women with extremely dense breasts, which is only about 10% of the population. Other more important risks are family history, whether somebody's had breast cancer themselves, whether they've had a biopsy that showed atypical cells, whether they got radiation for Hodgkin's disease when they were younger. There's certain hormonal factors that can be asked about, and that gives a much bigger picture of what a woman's risk really is and how concerned she has to be, and there are things you can do to decrease your risk, so you're not just left out there all alone.
So there's a lot of factors that play in here, just a lot of them. So last night at 11, we learned about 3 common tests beyond the standard mammogram: the ultrasound, the 3D mammogram, also called tomosynthesis, and the breast MRI. The breast MRI is the most sensitive, so why wouldn't all women just want to go for the MRI?
MRI is a very useful tool. It has been shown to be most beneficial for women that are at very high risk for breast cancer, so women that are deemed to be at 20% or greater lifetime risk based on a number of factors, mainly family history. And it has been shown to find more cancers in those women. The problem that can occur with women that are at average risk that get breast MRI is that it can detect many things that are not cancers, and it can lead to more biopsies that are unnecessary and more follow-up that is costly and can produce anxiety. So at this point, the recommendations are for screening MRI for women that are considered to be at high risk for breast cancer.
Do you believe this new law will save lives? Is this a good thing?
Well, I think it's a good thing in that it'll focus women on to say, what is my risk and what can I do about that risk, and how can I manage that risk. I mean, something as simple as exercise, aerobic exercise, 4 hours a week can cut your risk by 20%. Something we should all be doing.
So basically, the most critical information we as women need to know going forward from this is we need to find out where we stand, what our density is, what our health risks are, what our family history is. Is that the best advice?
Exactly.
Absolutely.
It's important to know your breast density, but it's important to look at the whole picture, look at all of your risk factors, what you can do to decrease your risk. It's important to continue getting your annual mammogram, and then also look at what supplemental screening might be right for you.
Sounds really good. Thank you so much. Yeah, go ahead. No, you have something
At Holland
to say.
Hospital, we have started a high-risk clinic. I know there are some others in the area, and so for women who have an increased risk, they can come and get their risk evaluated and get advice about how to be imaged, how to be screened, and what they can do to decrease their risk.
That sounds very helpful.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming in
You're
this morning. You answered some important questions. Well, our coverage on this critical issue continues all week long on 24-Hour News 8, 8 West, and WOTV for Women. We have a question. If you have a question, that is, send an email to reported@woodtv.com. And then tonight at 5, Spectrum Health's Chief of Oncology will be here to answer some of your questions live. It's 6:20.